Hello, my name is Kssm and today I want to talk about Chapter 7, that is adaptations of plants in different habitats. In this video I will be explaining the meaning of adaptation, showing some examples of plants adapting to different habitats. I will also going to talk about the classification of plants based on habitats, and I will describe more further for each of the classifications that are halophytes, hydrophytes, mesophytes, and xerophytes. After that, I will explain the adaptive features of hydrophytes, halophytes, and xerophytes. As we know, 4 and 5 Kssm biology textbook, there are only this 4 main point that be elaborate in the textbook, but today I will be adding one more important point, that is the advantages of plants to the environment, but just for halophytes. The uniqueness of terrarium. This is the example of terrarium. Terrarium is the name of a transparent glass container to keep small plants or terrestrial animals. Terrarium is a combination of two words, namely terra and rium. Terra means plant, while rium means glass container. This glass container is often decorated with pebbles, charcoal, soil, succulent plants, cacti and moss as its main medium. Terrarium creates an ecosystem as similar as possible to the environment or natural habitat. The glass is closed to prevent loss of moisture. Therefore, terrarium requires minimum maintenance due to the existence of natural water cycle. The meaning of adaptation. Adaptation is the adjustment of an organism to the environment. All organisms are adapting. Animals and plants have unique structures and shapes to adapt to the environment to ensure the survival of the species. For a plant, this adaptation can be observed in the shape of its leaves, roots, and stem to adjust itself to live in its habitat. So, examples of plants adapting to different habitats. We have halophytes, hydrophytes, mesophytes, and xerophytes.
Hi, I'm Sophie, Afik's cousin. Next, we go to the classifications of plants based on habitats. Plants in different habitats have different adaptations. As we know, there are 4 classifications, which are mesophytes, hydrophytes, halophytes, and xerophytes. For mesophytes, plants that live in a habitat that is not too dry nor too wet with an adequate supply of water. Most plants are mesophytes, and the examples of mesophytes are mango tree, hibiscus plant, and rubber tree. Second one, hydrophytes. Plants that live in aquatic habitats, either on a water surface or submerged in the water. Lotus plants and elodius are examples of hydrophytes. For halophytes, plants that live in swampy habitats at the river mouth, the meeting point of fresh water and seawater. This swampy area is rich in salt content. The examples of halophytes are mangrove tree, sea purslane, and pickleweed. Lastly, for xerophytes, plants that live in a habitat that is hot and dry with a minimum presence of water. Desert is one of the places that have high temperature. Examples of xerophytes are cactus and date palm. The active features of hydrophytes, halophytes, and xerophytes. Firstly, hydrophytes. Hydrophytes adapt to their wet habitat, either floating on the water surface or sinking in the water. Most hydrophytes have fibrous roots to provide large surface area and trap air bubbles. These characteristics enable hydrophytes to be more stable and lighter. This type of roots enable the hydrophytes to float or stay upright in the water as the buoyant force exerted by the surrounding water. As I told before, there are 2 types of hydrophytes, either floating or sinking. Now, I want to elaborate more about floating plants. Grow with the roots not anchored to the bottom of the lake. The leaves are broad, thin, and flat. These characteristics help the leaves to absorb maximum sunlight for photosynthesis. Other than that, most of the stomata are distributed on the upper epidermis of the leaves. The upper epidermis is covered by a waxy, waterproof cuticle to ensure the stomata always open. The floating plants have aerenchyma tissues, which are light tissues with plenty air spaces between the cells at the stem of these plants.
Yeah, I'm back in the adaptive features of halophytes. I choose mangrove tree as our example. Halophytes can live in a habitat with high concentration of salt, low oxygen content, and high intensity of light. As for the leaves, Leaves with thick cuticle and sunken stomata can reduce the rate of transpiration. Succulent leaves can store water. Leaves with a special structure known as hydatota eliminate excess salt, and old leaves can store salt and fall off when the concentration of salt stored is too high. For the roots, root system that branches widely and exists in various shapes and sizes provides support for the plants to continue living in the soft and muddy soils. Other than that, it prevents plants from being uprooted due to strong wind. Pneumatophores is the root system produces hundreds of breathing roots that grow vertically upwards. There are many pores on the root which are called lenticels to enable the exchange of gases with the atmosphere. Lastly, the till sap of mangrove roots has a higher salt content than seawater. Hence, the till sap of the roots does not lose water by osmosis. Instead, the mangrove trees receive water and mineral salts from the seawater entering their roots. And the last adaptive features, xerophytes. Plants might live in the desert, an area that receives very little rainfall. However, xerophytes can overcome this problem of extreme dryness. The roots of xerophytes grow widely and can penetrate deep into the soil to absorb water and mineral salts. The absorbed water is stored in the roots, stems, and leaves. Besides, the stem of the cactus carries out photosynthesis. The cactus has small leaves and thick waxy cuticles on its stem and leaves.
There are also leaves modified into thorns. This feature reduces the total surface area exposed to the sun, thus reducing water loss. The presence of thorns can also help the cactus to get water supply by collecting dew. The dew will drop on the ground and is absorbed by the roots. Besides, the thorns can also prevent the plant from being eaten by animals. The stomata in the cactus are embedded to reduce water evaporation from the leaves.
As I told before, I will be adding a point that doesn't have in the textbook: the advantages of halophytes to the environment.
First, habitats and ecology of marine life and animals. Mangrove trees grow in muddy soil and tangled roots that provide habitat for fish, snails, nipa crabs, shrimp, clams, and locan. Other animals, such as monkeys and birds, make mangrove trees as their habitat. Next, halophytes help to prevent soil erosion. Mangrove trees grow on the riverbanks as strongholds that prevent river water and seawater from eroding the soil. The tree strongly grips the ground and grows vigorously, forming a strong defense that prevents soil from eroding.
The third point is absorbs carbon dioxide and release oxygen. All green plants are same due to their rooting of photosynthesis processes. The process of photosynthesis using carbon dioxide gas that occurs by mangrove trees through evergreen leaves that lush release oxygen gas as waste. The lack of forest mangrove trees causes carbon dioxide gas to become excessive in the air. As a result, the increase in air temperature occurs and affects human life and other life. And the fourth advantages are as tourism economics or tourism eco or in Bahasa Melayu as ekoblinkungen. Popular places of mangrove trees are Lot Maten, Perak, Pantai Kuala Selangor, Muara Sungai Labak Sugut, Sabuk, and Pantai Samarahan Sadong, Sarawak. That's all from us.
Thank you and
Terima kasih.